Hi y'all, and welcome back to KDQ's Astro News. So I am so excited today because we are finally going to be talking about Ashwini. So Ashwini is actually the very first sign in Vedic astrology and sidereal astrology. We have 27 nakshatras or lunar mansions, but they're individual stars. And the very first star is Ashwini. And so I've been looking forward to this for so long. So on this Friday, April 17th at around 7:50 in the morning, we're going to be having a new moon in Aries in the particular star Ashwini. And I am so excited because Ashwini is just so wonderful. And I feel like I've been talking about it all year long because this year for the Chinese New Year is actually the fire horse. And so I was saying earlier in the year that Ashwini definitely has those qualities of the fire horse. I like to do my outfits kind of based on the inspiration from the nakshatras, and I wasn't really sure what to do for my Ashwini inspiration today. I was thinking about doing a ponytail because I feel like that is that's very canon for this horse nakshatra. But I ended up trying to do like a frosty lip. I don't know if you can see it, and like a smoky eye, which is very Pamela Anderson inspired back in the 90s because she is actually Ashwini. And so I wanted to use her as my style inspiration today. I think I was saying also in Mula, I did like a lot of eyeliner and stuff because Ashwini here at this first portion of Aries is actually ruled by ketu. So ketu is this really smoky shadow planet, they call it. It's the south node in Western astrology, and it's called a shadow planet because it's actually a mathematical calculation. It's actually the lunar eclipse. And so ketu nakshatras tend to have this really otherworldly, smoky, spiritual, almost hypnotic and transient aura about them. And so I really wanted to hone in on that ambience for my style inspiration today. So it's kind of weird. I don't usually do a frosty lip, but I feel like they're actually back in fashion right now, along with cool tones, and I just felt like this was the perfect time to try that. This new moon in Aries, where the sun and moon are both coming here together in Ashwini and Aries, it's actually a new moon in both Eastern and Western astrology and tropical and sidereal. So in both cases, this is the astrological new year or the solar new year, as opposed to the lunar new year. This is a really refreshing, rejuvenating new start to the year. I know we've had so many New Year's in a way, the Lunar New Year and then the beginning of the year in January, but for me, definitely this is officially the fresh start that I've been waiting for at least. And even on the first day of Ashwini, I was just feeling so giddy and so excited, and yeah. However, at the same time, because, you know, all the planets aren't here in Aries yet, the only other planet besides Sun and Moon that are in Aries right now is actually Venus. So we've got Venus here in the star Critica. The rest of the planets of importance here are still in Pisces. There's the stellium that is recoagulated here in Pisces, specifically in Uttara Bhadrapada. I talked about Uttara Bhadrapada about a month ago during the new moon in Pisces. This star is ruled by Saturn. It's the slow, deep, oceanic, sort of depressive part of Pisces, where the weight of the world is burdened on our shoulders. And so we still have Mars, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune here in Uttara Bhadrapada. I definitely want to talk about that today. I'm going to go over just a little bit of tidbits about Ashwini first, but in general, we are still feeling a very big push-pull between being ready for a new start, being excited for the spring and the year ahead, and unfortunately still having this kind of weight holding us back, and especially Mercury here clears the mind. Mars, which rules the sign of Aries, is also here with Saturn and Neptune, really slowing things down, mucking things up, and creating a lot of depression and confusion. We're really trying to find a balance between pausing and resting and coming out of hibernation with the new, fresh, forward momentum of both the fire horse year and this new moon in Aries. Back to Ashwini a little bit, because you guys know I love talking about the qualities of the individual stars. This nakshatra is all about the horse. So their animal is actually the male horse. Their symbol is the horse's head, and their deity, because every star in Vedic astrology has a deity that rules over it, is the twin horse-headed physicians to the gods, the Ashwini Kumaras. Some people say that the Ashwini Kumaras are actually horsemen in the idea that they're charioteers and that they ride horses, like in their story of how they bring the sunrise, and they represent both sunrise and sunset actually, but they're the ones who chariot the sun back up above the horizon. And this, I believe, is also true in Greek mythology and also Baltic mythology. They also have this two solar twin masculine charioteer horsemen that bring the sunrise. So Ashwini is that in Vedic astrology. Some people say it's because they're charioteers, but some say that they are these out of our universe horse-headed entities in a way, like they're a little bit outside of our domain, out of our universe. And so they come from the Gandanta point between Pisces and Aries, which is this really dark void in outer space. Like there's a big expanse of dark matter there where the twin stars Ashwini are. Either way, the horse is very prevalent here in this sign, and so that is the overarching theme throughout this entire nakshatra, is thinking about the horse and what it represents. The star is also called the star of transport. So again, it has a lot to do with that momentum, movement, and travel. And their Shakti power is actually Dravya Pani Shakti. That's a mouthful. Dravya Pani Shakti, which means the power to attain success quickly or to reach your destination quickly. And so again, with the star of transport and the horse, and again, Aries, zodiac sign of Aries is all about fast, quick movement. It's a fire sign and it's cardinal energy. Cardinal meaning starting new things, rushing ahead, charging and taking initiative and going forward on your goals and starting things up. And I kind of talked about this in Mula over in the winter equinox, because Mula, which is the cousin to Ashwini, is also ruled by Ketu. And Ketu, like I said, is this very shadowy planet. And Ketu in the lore is headless, and it's the opposite of the North Node or Rahu, which is the head without a body. So Ketu is the body without a head. So there's a little bit of an impulsive nature here with this freedom-loving, fiery Ashwini. They are Deva types. They're actually one of the Devas. They're honorary Devas in a way. Like I said, they have this sort of otherworldly Ketuvian nature to them where they don't quite fit into our reality in a way, but they're still of an angelic nature. And Ashwini in particular is very helpful, very sensitive to people's needs. Their descriptor includes them being very good friends of the sick, the needy, the elderly. So they're very, very compassionate, and they're known for their miracles, their healing miracles in particular that they provide for humanity because they are so sensitive to our plight here on Earth. And so they are Deva types. So they're very optimistic as well, very bright and positive signs. They're merchant class, and their focus is Dharma. So Dharma, your life purpose, right action. The Ashwini Kumaras are the physicians to the gods. So this sign is all about health and healing. Even Ketu here, Ketu nakshatras in general are about health. I said that in my Ketu video on YouTube. Ketu has to do with genetics and lineage. And so they're in the physical body, like I was saying as well. And so there is a really big focus focus here, especially in Ashwini, because it's in Aries, Mars, the first house, the physical body, that is very honed in and focused on health in particular. And I kind of mentioned this as well in the Hosta video, but whereas with Virgo, I was talking about digestion, we were still resting from the winter and allergies and things like that. Here in Ashwini, this is the jock of the zodiac, if you will. So this is when you might want to go for that run. I wanted to run so bad the other day. Exercise of any kind, especially something that includes movement. So hiking, jogging, like I said, any type of sport activity or competition is really good too. Wrestling with someone, even something like skateboarding or surfing, if you're into that, that's also a really good choice for this Ashwini new moon, or starting something new, starting a new activity that is physical, like dance or something like that, would be really great for this time. We really are transitioning out of a time of stagnation in a way, and like I said, we're still somewhat there with the stellium happening in Uttara Bhadrapada. Is a very limiting sign. Like Uttara Bhadrapada is very low energy, very slow, very weighed down. The Ashwinis in particular rule over transitions that are speedy in nature. So like I said, the dawn. When you think about the sunrise, the transition from it being completely dark outside to it being light and morning time really only takes about 30 minutes or so. And yet the middle of the day is super bright and the nighttime is dark the entire time. But Ashwini represents this sort of liminal space between the two that is so brief and very fast. Despite how uncomfortable it might feel to have this sort of juxtaposition between feeling stuck and feeling in your head and in your emotions really here with this Pisces stellium and this energy and excitement about a new start, it should only be uncomfortable for a little bit because of how speedy this transition should feel. Definitely try, if you can, if you find yourself still ruminating in any way or getting stuck in the past or something like that, do try to just lean into movement, even if it's just going for a walk or changing your activity. If you've been sitting in one spot for a while, it would be a good idea to just move to another room or do some chores or something like that to try and, you know, bring yourself out of that stuck space in any way that you possibly can. And with Venus here as well, it's not in Ashwini, like I said, Venus is in Aries still. These activities that we're doing should still be very pleasurable and fun, and really try to focus on the enthusiasm for a new start, because I think once we are coming out of this reflective state and thinking about the past and where we've come from, it can be easy to just get into that overthinking mindset in general, but try to detach from that the best that you can and really just focus on the joys of a new start and how refreshing it is. And of course, exercise is inherently healing. Like I was saying about how the Ashwini Kumaras are the physicians, they're doctors, they're healers, and they're also healers in a traditional medicine sense like Ayurveda and herbal medicine. I was watching the Pi team and they were talking about how bees and honey are so associated with Ashwini because of bees' association with ketu, and honey is naturally antibacterial. In ancient times, a lot of medicines were actually based in honey as well. You know, I have an herb garden, not saying that you need to go hang out with the bees or anything, but you know, I have an herb garden, I have roses and flowers, and so the bees are all around, and there's all of these plants and things are springing to life, at least up here in South Carolina, trying to engage with that life-giving energy, which I was going to say as well, the Ashwini's healing modes are sound healing and light healing as well. With this dual nature of these Ashwini twins, you get the sunrise and the sunset, and you also get this vibe of both light and sound and these frequencies that are actually healing in nature. And so going outside and getting a lot of sunshine, getting your vitamin D, also on the flip side, listening to really good music. This star has a lot to do with music. Allowing yourself to really move, getting up to dance, or going, like I said, going out for a walk and feeling the sun rays and stopping to smell the flowers and really just being very present in the present moment while also moving your body and being engaged with a lighter, more optimistic approach to life. Actually, the Ashwini Kumaras, they got into a little bit of trouble in the Vedic lore with the king of the gods, Indra. He was gatekeeping Soma from them. So Soma was like this nectar of immortality that the gods drank and gatekept from the humans as well. And the Ashwinis were not allowed to partake in the Soma because they are defiled in the eyes of Indra, this king of the gods, because of their healing miracles. Like I said, they're very sensitive to the plights of humanity, and they tend to hang out with them, and they return sight to the blind, they heal the deaf, they make people young again. I'm pretty sure one of the stories was they were like the first ones to invent like a prosthetic leg for someone who got their leg injured. But because of that, they actually got ostracized by the gods because of how engaged they were with humanity. In a way, it made them seem unclean, and especially doctors back then were considered dirty in a way because they were engaging with like bodily fluids and stuff. And so the poor Ashwinis got a little bit rejected, and you can see that also with the ketu nakshatras is being a little bit ostracized and a little bit rebellious. But what I really enjoy about the Ashwini energy is that despite the fact that they weren't invited, they have this whole story that they go on that I'm not going to get on the tangent of that, but they find their immortality in the end. But you know, they are still free and happy, and they're happy to be here with the humans on the earth and enjoying the rivers and the gardens and the roses and the people. And so despite the fact that they were ostracized, they're very happy in their independence and in their freedom. And again, that reminds me of horses. Like horses also just want to roam free. They just want to be out there unbothered, happy and beautiful. Ashwini reminds me of the divine masculine. There's a lot of like twin related things here, and like Shiva Shakti. And in particular, I wanted to talk about how Ashwini has this very masculine energy because it's a huge contrast to this Pisces stellium that we've been going through for a very long time now. And just Pisces in general, with Saturn being there. It's been there for over a year now. So I wanted to talk about how Ashwini is the exaltation point of the sun. And in my Uttara Bhadrapada video, if you guys remember, that star is ruled by the sun. I talked about how it reminds me of the father, but it was in that more sort of controlling, overbearing side of the sun. Here in Ashwini, it's more with especially Mars involved as well from Aries. It's more so just the fertilization part of the father, like literally like the bees. Like I'm saying, like the bees are attracted to the flower, attracted to the bloom, and they bring this fertilizing energy. Ashwini also, besides that being the exaltation point of the sun, the father, like I said, they also bring the sunrise. So there's just a very freeing and supportive side to the sun here. So it's still father energy, but it's a lot more prolific. It's a lot more anabolic, it's a lot more creative in nature, and this would be a really good time to really focus on that. Like I said, with that, finding joy in things, finding joy in starting new things and creating new things or planting things, and how can you bring the light back into what you're doing without getting too stuck in the details and weighed down. So there's something very passionate and very sparky about this sign, and it's very masculine, and it can, like I said, it reminds me of like a jock or something like that, but it's also very light and untethered. So one more thing that I wanted to say about Ashwini is, and this is just a bit of a warning here for this new moon, is with that Ketu rulership of Ashwini and their sensitivity to frequencies and their openness to frequencies, and you know, they're a bit otherworldly, a little bit ghosty-wosty. I think this is a time where it's really important to maintain some semblance of independence still, because Ashwini is very susceptible to frequencies. I don't know how to say this. They're susceptible to psychic interference. They can pick up on things that are not just like the words I'm speaking or the things right in front of us. They have this psychic tendency that is a little bit out of their control because, you know, they're really early on, they're the first sign, so they don't necessarily come with all of the training, if you will, to handle this sort of psychic energy. And so it could be, especially like I said, we have this Pisces stellium, and Pisces is also very psychic. So yeah, we may all be feeling a little bit bombarded by not just the normal physical world things, but also emotions and, you know, other entities and other agendas. And protect yourself and have some level of boundaries and try to maintain some of that independence, like a wild, free horse. That way you don't get caught up in other storylines that don't belong to you, I guess. And so yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So in general, this is a sign that's all about healing and regeneration. It is the brand new start to this fiery fire horse year. I am so looking forward to it. Oh, also I wanted to show you my painting. I don't know if I can show you. Oh my God. Here, let me zoom out. Can you see? Oh my God. Isn't it so awesome? Look at this fucking horn. Isn't it majestic? Can you see it? Can you see how majestic this horn is? Anyway, yeah, I love Ashwini. I'm not finished with the painting yet, but here's the sketch that I did. Ah! Oh yeah, the race by 30 Seconds to Mars, because Jared Leto is also Ashwini. And the race is like the most Ashwini song ever, so definitely recommend to listen if you like rock music. Yeah, anyway, I think that's everything. I'm beyond happy. I love this sign. I could talk about Ashwini forever. I didn't want to get into every individual good deed that they did for people or anything like that. So hopefully that was helpful, and happy solar new year, happy astrological new year to everyone. We finally made it. I'm so happy, so proud of everybody. And yeah, I hope that y'all have a good day. Bye.